Good morning, Satter Wolf number one. I'm looking for number 12, Satter. Caller number 12 this morning. Satter is one, MDK2, Trevor 3. I'm looking for number 12, Trevor. Number 12. Caller number 12. King 4, Joey 5. Flying Wing 6. I'm looking for number 12. Gold Clean Grow number 7. Adrian 8. Who's number 12 going to be? I'm looking for caller number 12. Yeah, but why, Pops? The board's full. I don't care. I still want caller number 12. Anderson's 8. Vegas, you're 9. Hagues, you're 10. Grady, you're 11. And Johnny Hopkins. Johnny Hopkins, according to my screen, you're number 12. Johnny Hopkins. So here's what we're doing with you, Johnny. After we do the spin, we have to take somebody's name off, whoever won. Your name will replace that name later in today's show. So, Johnny, you're going to have a spot in the second spin because you're caller number 12. Johnny Hopkins. I'm writing that down as I speak. Okay. So, that, Johnny, second spin, we'll see it a win. Now, does anybody still, who remembers what the professor does here in the mornings lately? Huh? Professor goes international, right? Right? He does some proverbs from every country in the world. He goes and finds cool ones. And he tries to get you guys to guess what country they came from. Professor's Proverbs. So I'm going to show you the one that he picked for you today. Okay, you guys ready? Whoever guesses what country this proverb is attributed to first is going to win. No, the board's full. The board's full. But the professor still wants you to win this. It's a freeze-dried fruit. Oops, the cap broke a little off, but it's all there. So the professor wants you to win this. Whoever guesses his proverb for today. Okay. So 33 people here, 19 likes. 33 people here, 19 likes. Let's do a little bit better than that, and then I'll show you the proverb. Until then, the professor and I are going to be quiet. We'll train you. We'd like to see at least 80%. There you go. Look how easy that was. That was so easy. There's still 7 missing. Now it's 4. We can live with that. Here we go. Professor's proverb. First person to guess this proverb, which country it comes from, will win this fruit. Behind the clouds, the sky is always blue. Go. Mexico. Nope. Behind the clouds. They are the thumbless among us. Africa's a whole continent, Satter, right? Let's get down to countries. China, Canada, Australia, China. Japan, Polandia. There is no such place. Italy, Morocco, Philippines, Sweden, Switzerland, Hawaii. Holly has it correct. Holly nailed it. Holly's got it correct. Holly knew. Oops, where is it now? Shoot. Holly knew that behind the clouds, the sky is always blue is a Norwegian proverb. It comes from Norway. Holly, I'll be expecting an address from you at the Detroit Mush Lab. so I can send that to you. Good news is if you win, because your name is on the board, if you win, I can just boop, slip this in with your other box. Okay? So that's how we play it here. All right? Holly's got a chance to be a double winner this week. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I didn't have a chance to comb my hair this morning, so I slipped a hat on. Give me 5 people say hat pops is okay. It's all right. Wait. Okay. Hat pops is okay. Holly, I'm lazy when I don't comb my hair and get it all boop-de-doopy. Hat pops is okay. Hats off to you, Kim. Good morning, everybody. Made Google ask me if we needed help. Got a CAP exam. Okay, check this out, you guys. Vegas is good for me. Captain Jeff. Captain Jeff is my, this is a true story. He's not here, so I could talk about him behind his back. I don't think he's here. I get an example from him on a regular basis, especially because we see each other at least once a week when we go fishing during fishing season. I get an example from him. I'm a little high-strung. Did you notice? Pop's a little high-strung guy. I'm a little 100-mile-an-hour guy. Jeff's able to go like, he modulates right at 50. He stays right there. So it makes him a great boat captain and a fisherman. It really does. Because he's right there. I'm not telling you he's perfect. I'm not telling you. But I watch him modulate him. I'm Trip. I think we are. Everyone here's a 100-mile-an-hour guy. He's able to modulate himself. Right? You hadn't noticed? You're stupid. Snap. I love how he, there's David Umano. We haven't seen him in a minute, right? You guys, everybody say hi to David. But he also has a spirit of kindness about him. It was like one of the reasons I just love hanging around him. So we send each other videos back and forth. You see some cool video on, it's usually IG or something. Oh, that was cool. Usually it's fishing. See a crazy fish story on here. I send him a copy of it. He sees something, he sends me a copy of it. I generally am sending him stuff that's like, let's go 100 miles an hour together. There's Jeff. Jeff sends me something like, well, I'll show you. Give me 5 people that want to see what Jeff just sent me last night. I send him 100-mile-an-hour stuff. He sends me stuff that goes. Good morning, Captain. I put you on the spot. It's raining here. I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. Is the rain going to mess up our fishing? Nobody wants to see it. David does. Who wants to see the captain? I mean, it's not him, but you guys ready? All right. Oh, we're just going to do it anyways, even if you don't want to see it now. All right. So he sent me this video. Wait for it. His phone on silent. Wait. Start over. Okay. Here we go. Dad, you fish don't care if it rains?
On silent and it rang so. A man forgot to put his phone on silent and it rang so loud in the church during preaching. The pastor scolded him. The worshipers admonished him after the sermon for interrupting. His wife kept on lecturing on his carelessness all the way home. His friends and acquaintances shook their heads in disgust. You could see the shame, embarrassment, and humiliation on his face. He never stepped foot in the church again after the service that Sunday. That evening, he went to a bar. He was still nervous and trembling. He spilled his drink on the table. The bottle fell by accident and it splashed on some people. Those it touched rushed towards him. He closed his eyes expecting a bashing of words or slaps. Instead, they cared to know if he did get a cut from the broken bottle. The waiter apologized and gave him a napkin to clean himself. The janitor mopped the floor. The female manager offered him a complimentary drink. She also gave him a huge hug and a peck while saying, "Don't worry, man, who doesn't make mistakes?" He has not stopped going to that bar since then. Sometimes our attitude as believers drives souls to hell. We can make a difference by how we treat people, especially when they make mistakes. A man...
Oop. Take 5 on that one. I mean it, take 5. Good old level message from old Cap. People at the bar cared more than the church people. People at T Crew care a little bit too, don't they? Jolie, do people at T Crew care too? Oh, I feel like this is a nice bar that we come to. T bar. That guy's voice cracked me up. Why'd it have to be raining too? Why'd this narrator have to have raining in the background? Right? This is our T-bar, Holly. Yeah, that one got me right here yesterday. I got to show that to the kids. Alan, that's a good one, right? So yeah, thank you, Cap. That was a good one. Love the T-bar. Niffer comes here 10 minutes and she gets here about 10 minutes after we get started. She's all, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late." There's no rules, Niffer. None. The only rule here is be kind. Ooh, that's a big one though. Kind means share. That'll be our biggest motto. Just give to each other a whole bunch of stuff. And each other and stuff. So we'll put a final cap on the submarine story. Of course, I'm extremely sorry that it happened. The whole rigmarole. But I'm going to wax poetic for about 2 minutes. I'm going to pretend like you guys care about what I think. In looking at the whole situation, they knew on Sunday afternoon that this submarine had imploded. They knew it. They had underwater sound signatures from the U.S. Navy, and they had sent to the platform to let them know. When the comms went out and we heard this explosion underwater, 2 and 2, but they still did their due diligence and still sent all of these 10, 11 rescue crafts and did everything they could because of the 0.1% chance that maybe we didn't read that underwater signature correctly. And maybe it was just the controller went out. But they knew. It's a pretty good example of how the media doesn't tell you anything. They had me pretty stoked up for 3 or 4 days. They really did. They could have told us on Sunday, and by the way, we did hear this explosion, but we're still looking. We're going to try. That isn't what they did. That isn't what our media did. Our media literally set us up. I feel set up. I wish you would have told me that information on day one that you had. So that was my first thought. Besides my compassion for these people, sincere. I have another thought. I think this guy was, at the end of the day, this CEO of the company turns out to be a pretty irresponsible guy. In my thumbnail thoughts. They find out he's touting Boeing was involved, University of Washington was involved. He's telling all of these investors and people about all of these other people that are involved. And he was using names and titles, and he was bullshitting people. All of the experts in the industry, except him, said don't use that composite. It's the wrong stuff. It's great for it won't blow out, but it'll suck in real easy. He kept doing it. I didn't realize until we hear more about it. This isn't the first dive. Second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, 20. There's over 20 dives have happened in that same submarine without any kind of a recertification, rechecking. Let's take it apart and put it back together again. None of that. So I'm ashamed for him and how what about the people that work at Ocean Gate? What about the investors? What about everybody involved? It's not just the 5 people at the bottom of the ocean anymore. And I'm glad that it happened. These people didn't even know. Well, there's now the most expert of experts, James Cameron. We think he's something amazing because of the movies that he's made. Every single thing I've heard and read since is James Cameron is literally the #1 underwater oceanography expert of all time. All time. He's the #1. Everybody in the industry, it's a very small group. Everybody looks up. James Cameron knows more about underwater exploration and oceanography than anybody that's ever walked our planet. He's personally made a submarine that dove to 3 times the depth of the Titanic, as he was exploring the right ways and the wrong ways to do things. 3 times the depth. He's been deeper than anybody that's ever lived. Seen history at its most prehistoric level. He said, I'll get in a submarine that I made that hasn't been certified. But for me to put one person in something that I made that wasn't certified is unconscionable. He dove in stuff that he made that wasn't certified himself. I'm kind of liking James Cameron. I'm kind of liking the guy. You know what he said? The last thing I heard him say, he goes, what happens with this carbon fiber stuff is meshes. It's a mesh, and then it's filled in with this polyfill stuff, and then there's another layer. As you're going down and experiencing pressure, and as you're coming up, it releases. You take another trip down. Experiences pressure, it releases. You take another trip down. You are weakening the fabric. It is inevitable. Has to happen. Physics, Ken will tell you, we can't fight physics. So here we are at the end of the day. He said, I'll guarantee what they heard, just maybe seconds or milliseconds right before they died. They probably heard a little bubbling or ripping in the fabric. Whatever it was, that the water, 1 molecule of water getting in between that fabric, and you would start, he said, underwater, you would start to hear it. So where I know I'm sitting here going, I hope it went like that. And he's saying it probably went like, what the hell? Like that. So probably enough said. We're going to keep hearing more and more and more and more and more and more about that. And at the end of the day, I can't trust anything they say right now. I have to wait and learn a lot on my own because they don't tell us everything. I wish they would have just been honest and said, and there was an implosion sound on Sunday, but boy, we sure hope we catch it. And then my final thought, but this is at another level. How many millions of dollars have we spent on this recovery? How many millions? You know the taxpayers paying for this, right? The U.S. Coast Guard's over there. This isn't a private recovery. I mean, there's some private. We are now, you and me are paying for this recovery effort. It's coming out of the U.S. Coast Guard's budget. One more thought. But pop negativo here. Here's one more thought. Oh, there won't even be an Ocean Gate to send a bill to, Herbie. That place is gone. It imploded when he imploded. Here's one more thought. Just rando. How many millions and billions of dollars are they going to spend trying to recover a nose cone at the bottom of the ocean? And we're having maritime disasters everywhere in the world. What just happened in the Mediterranean on that boat from Morocco? How many people died? How big was the rescue effort? You know what the rescue effort was? Swim for shore! Somebody yelling out, swim for shore. That's how much money they spent on the Moroccan refugees. But we'll spend $1 billion to go get a nose cone. You know. All I can do is sit here and talk about it, but it's my obligation to talk about it. Swim for shore. Those same vehicles could have all been over at the Mediterranean grabbing a few of those people out of the water. Shame. Shame on them. Let's do a couple rando factos and let's get our entertainment back up here. Okay, let's be entertaining. What is papyrophobia? I've never heard of. No, Tasha, there's a few people on the Moroccan thing that survived. What is papyrophobia? I had never heard of that. Obviously, phobia is something, right? You guys are saying scared of fire? Fear of Popeye. Papyrophobia was, you're close. You're really close. Papyrophobia is the fear of dry paper. How the heck could you be afraid of dry paper? Papyrus, right? Why in the world like that would mean this book. Oh my God, I can't, the dry paper. It says actress Megan Fox suffers from it. How debilitating is that? What do you make of, I don't get it at all. CCS feels of microfibers. The fear of dry paper. So we did a Norwegian quote earlier today. Well, what we find out is there's some really weirdos in Norway. Yeah, Vegas isn't most paper dry. That's my point. I mean, how? I don't get it. What do you get? Wet paper? I'm okay if my paper's wet. Herbie. I don't get it. I can only read in the rain? What? Papyrophobia. So in Norway, there's a whole group of weirdos. They're called the Sami people, S-A-M-I. I don't know if it's Sami or Sami. I won't say Sami. Sounds cooler. So we got the Sami people of Norway. What do you think they do that you would never do? Well, first of all, let's remember that they hunt reindeer. You're never going to do that. I'm not. Jeff Coleman here might hunt a reindeer someday, but I'm never going to hunt a reindeer. I know that going in. So they've already got one up on me, the Samoa people. Kim might someday. There aren't too many of us sitting here today that are going to eventually hunt reindeer. However, if you were a reindeer hunter of the Samoa people of Norway, you know what you would do? Now, this is if you're Samoa. You would castrate the reindeer using your own teeth.
No.
Castrate the reindeer
No.
using your own teeth. So, some of these guys, yeah, just, you know that green, where's that green emoji? Or, yeah, where's that green one? What do they do? Yeah, the indigenous Samoa people of Norway castrate reindeer using their own teeth. I have one thought about that. There it is, D. I have one thought. One. Is the reindeer alive? How many people think this reindeer is alive when this happens? Like, are they chasing after it? Come here, reindeer! And final thought. Jesus, you're creepy. Final thought. What would you do with Rudolph's balls? Has Santa ever done this? Is Santa a Samoa? A lot of things to think about. We're not done. We're not done getting creepy. Okay, playing reindeer games. Oh, God. I can leave this one open and let you guys just run with this one. You guys could just run with this one. Okay? But instead, we're going to shoot over to China and find out what they do with virgin boy eggs. Virgin boy eggs. Does anybody know what they do with those in China? We've jumped from Norway, where they're where they're castrating with their mouths, and we're shooting over to China to look at virgin boy eggs. I almost can't read it. I almost can't read this, eggs. You're like, it can't be good. But it is in China. It's a delicacy. You ready? In China, there's a delicacy called virgin boy eggs. Wait for it. Where the eggs are actually soaked in the urine of boys under the age of 10. The urine is collected from school washrooms. And it's strongly believed that eating this can have healthy benefits. Getting another one of those green emojis.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pee on my egg for me, son.
No.
No, I don't want it anyways. You're not under 10. Okay? What the heck is going on in China? Why does the kid have to be under 10? Do they have to show ID? Who's going around the school washrooms? That alone, just to see creepy guy go in there with the siphon hose into the school washroom? What are they thinking? What market? And how do you know there's not a mix? How do you know there's not an 11-year-old? Boop, accidentally did it. How do you know? I'd almost have to have a prearranged group Never, that's beyond us. They do it in China. They sell the eggs, I'm not done, for 24 cents a piece.
What? A quarter?
It costs a quarter. God. Oh my goodness. Anybody want to talk about Japan now? Who wants to go to Japan and talk?
I used to get a shave and a haircut for 2 bits.
Now you can get a urine soaked, a 10-year-old virgin soaked egg for 2 bits. Yeah. Who wants to go to Japan? Anybody want to see what they do in Japan? Has this been a bad rando facto morning? It can't be all bad because there's 55 people there and 55 likes. Okay, Joey's like, I don't want to see. Okay, tell us, Pops. Okay. Japan. They practice scatomancy. Scatomancy. Yes, yes, Saturn, that's exactly what it is. Wait, scatomancy involves telling a person's fortune by examining their poop. And it's a practice that's lasted for thousands of years. Fortune tellers who do this are known as scatomancers or complete horse asses, one or the other. I'm going to tell your fortune. Whoa. No, that's the past, Woz. Anyone can look at your scat and tell you your past. It's telling you your future that's like, man, that guy knows what he's doing. Okay? Herpes. What the actual F? Oh my goodness. So other countries, sometimes you feel like I wish I was. I'm not sure that the United States is as creepy as we think we are. Okay? Trevor, can you play a scatomancer in D&D? No, that's a necromancer, you goofball. Okay, we'll change the subject slightly. We're going to move away from gross to interesting. We're going to stay in Japan. We're going to stay in... Can you play that in D&D? That's a funny line. Okay, one final thing. We're going to tell you about what happens over in Japan. All right. You're not going to believe what they put in vending machines in Japan nowadays. Vending machines. It's popular. There's a large selection in online stores as well. They have a whole online selection. And these are in vending machines in Tokyo, Japan. You can buy a wide selection of wigs for your dog from vending machines in Japan. Dog wigs are so popular, they are now offered on a large selection in online stores as well. A wig for your dog. I'm so confused. I really am. There is nothing about that is not confusing. Is it just here that the wig goes? Or does it go all the way down the back of the dog? Does it include the tail? How do you fasten it? If it's just here's like an elastic strap, does the dog think he's cool wearing it? The whole thing's confusing. It doesn't sound bad. It's not scatto or virgin boy eggs or eating reindeer balls. None of that. They're wigging out. I don't get it at all. I'm gonna look up some images later on. Like, show me a dog wig in Japan. That's enough for today for Rando Facto. Crazy kids. Al and I overthink all this stuff, right? Here we go. Who's going to win the first box of the big box of the week? You guys ready? You have to be here to win. You're going to have about 20 to 30 seconds to speak up, or I literally have to move on because we can't spend time looking for you or waiting for your friend to call you and tell you to get over here. Okay? So let's get ready for the first spin. We have 2 big spins today. Here we go. Johnny B. John B. Is John here? Is John here this morning? I haven't seen him so far, to be honest with you. I'm going to count 30. I'm going to count to about 30. Is Johnny B. here? Is Mr. Johnny B. here? Don't forget, John Hopkins is going to take whoever's space this is. So if Johnny B's not here, I'm going to say, sorry, you got to go. We're going to spin again. What are we going to do here? We've got about 15 seconds left, Johnny. You got about 15 seconds left, Mr. Johnny B. I think it was John Bivens. I think his name was Johnny Bivens. Captain Dank, if you have a 25-second lag, then you're out. Okay? I don't recall seeing him either, Holly. To be honest, not that you, but that's part of it. You got to be here on Friday. All right? So, you know what? I got to go. I got to go, Johnny. I got to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Johnny B, you are now John Hopkins. This spot is now taken up by Johnny Hopkins, who was our 12th caller in this morning. Johnny Hopkins takes that spot. Oops. Johnny B has become Johnny H. Okay, Johnny B gone. Let's not be rude, that's a shame. But that's all right. So here we go. We're going to spin again with Johnny Hopkins taking his spot. All right? Here we go. Sharon Sparky, the Sparky Sparkerton. Sharon with the big win. Sharon, let's share something with Sharon. Okay? Right, Niff David, you don't show up on Friday for the first time in a month and say, how do I get on the wheel, everybody? Come on, man. Come on, man. Here we go. Sharon, the Sparky Sparkerton. Here we go. You're going to like your box, Sharon. Okay? Sharon, we're going to send you a 10-pack of Mellow Yellows. 50% banana, freeze-dried banana ground up with freeze-dried Ghost. Okay? Those are nice. We are also sending you out, and these are 200 milligrams. We're also going to send you some 300 milligram pure fruit Ghosts. These are 300 milligram. Okay? Then we're going to send you this weighs a little over 3 grams. Thrasher fruit. And then we decided, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and send Sharon a 1/4 ounce, 7 grams of squat chips and caps. Chips end caps. What do you think of that? Quarter? So they're going to send you a quarter gram of chips and caps, Thrasher, caps and caps. So we'll get that out to you, Sharon. There's a heck of a nice box. We're going to send that to Sharon Sparks when she sends us her address at the Detroit the Detroit Mush Lab, that's all one word, .net. Okay? We have one more box that's a lot like that. Might have a little more, a little less. We have another box looking a lot like that. Sharon, here I'm going to ask you to do one thing too while I'm at it. Pick somebody to take your spot on the board. I'm erasing your name, but a new name needs to go up there for the final spin. Okay? So what are you going to do, Sharon? How are we going to get another name on there? You let me know whose name replaces yours today. Okay? I'll wait for you. You go ahead and tell us. You might have to do a game. I don't know what you're going to have to do, Sharon, but you're going to tell us whose name's going to take your spot. I want that spot filled for the final spin. In the meantime, let's get your radical mycology books out. Sharon, you work that, whatever you got to do, and you let me know. While you work on that, I'll work over here. You picked Anthony. What a good choice. Anthony's such a nice man. I really, really like, I've got to meet, I just got to know Anthony on our Mush Fests, 2 of them now. And he's one of the coolest guys. I really, really, really dig our guy, Anthony. So, Anthony, you're on the board. Thank you. 2. Sharon, the Sparky Sparkerton. Anthony, we just put you on the board in her spot. Okay? So congratulations, my good friend. Let's do just a little bit of learning and talking and history and stuff like that together. Can we do that? Who wants to know a little bit more about that Gordon Wasson story, where he went down to Mexico and with Albert Hoffman? Who wants to know a little bit more about that situation? I got reminded by Joel Lee after our show yesterday that in the Radical Mycology book, it's a phenomenal resource for what we've been talking about, entheogens and psilocybin and psychedelic spirituality. Some really good passages in this book, Radical Mycology. And she reminded me. And so I went and had to reread the things that she reminded me of. And I'm like, yeah, that's some good research right there. Let's read it. First of all, we'll just recapture, because we were talking about basically the history of psychedelics in the 20th century and or entheogens. Okay? If you do have the Radical Mycology book, we're on page 432. Around the turn of the 20th century, the concept of psychedelic substances was restricted to peyote, cannabis, and opium. Those were the 3 main sources on, in our cultures where they were were able to get psychedelic substances and or entheogens. That was at the turn of the century, 1900. It wasn't until a series of reports in the first half of the century were released that fungal-based psychoactive compounds reappeared in the Western cultures. So from the 1900s, another 50 years of the Dark Ages. Then we got another 50 years of the Dark Ages since the 1960s to now. Let's recap real quickly the Albert Hoffman LSD situation, because that actually happened in our chronological order before we, in our Western culture, realized that mushrooms had psychoactive compounds in them. In the early part of the 20th century, Albert Hoffmann, a chemist at the Sandoz laboratories in Switzerland, was researching extracts from the fungus ergo for their potential to help induce. Here's what he was looking for. They were looking for a drug that would induce contractions, uterine contractions during pregnancy, to minimize the amount of cesarean births that were happening. Women were having a hard time. A woman has a hard time giving a birth. Most of the time, doctors just cut it out. This laboratory was saying, well, maybe we can come up with a drug that will induce uterine contractions. Okay, and that would save a lot of cesarean births. That was their original goal, which I think is phenomenal. So he was working for that laboratory that was looking for the drugs that would induce uterine contractions in pregnant women and to control excessive bleeding during childbirth. In 1938, while synthesizing and modifying the various ergo compounds, Hoffmann produced a modified form of LSA that was 100 times more psychoactive than its parent alkaloid. This substance was the powerful tryptamine D-lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. He originally called it Delcid. Now we're going to move forward just a little bit. We know that story pretty well. We know what happened. We know about his bicycle day. We know the experience that he had that was just mind-bending. And then where he's turned out to be just the champion of psychoactive substances. R. Gordon Wasson and magic mushrooms. We talked about this guy a little bit yesterday. Let's read. Around the same time that Hoffmann was experimenting with ergo in Switzerland, an Australian ethnobotanist working in Mexico, Plas Bablo Rico, heard rumors of ceremonial mushrooms being used by indigenous Mexicans. Following the tip, Rico went to the south of Mexico, where he not only confirmed the report, but he also collected specimens of this mushroom, of these mushrooms, from fellow Austrian ethnobotanist Robert J. Whitelander. Whitelander subsequently shipped them to Richard Schultz, a mycologist at Harvard University, for identification. So these guys one guy goes down to the tip of Mexico, he finds these mushrooms, he brings them up to his friend, says, what are these? Make sure, get these analyzed, identified, and classified. He goes, well, I don't really know how to do it, but I'll send them to my buddy in Harvard. Harvard, my guy, that mycologist, a Harvard guy, we'll get him to do it. So now these mushrooms are the specimen group from down at the tip of Mexico is up in Harvard being analyzed. Though the mushroom deteriorated in transit, they didn't have freeze dryers yet, Schultz was able to identify the mushrooms to the genus Paniolus. And we know that's one of our psilocybin ones. I personally work with cubensis. A Paniolus is a whole other area of a psilocybe mushroom. Seeking more accurate identifications, this is still 1938. Rico and Schultz traveled to the village of Hualta de Jimenez outside of Oaxaca, where they collected 3 species of psychoactive fungi used by locals: the Paniolus, the Stropharia, and the psilocybe cubensis. Schultz reported his findings in the American Anthropologist Journal in 1940. In 1952, author Robert Graves sent Schultz's article to an associate and a mushroom enthusiast, R. Gordon Wasson. 12 years later, hey, here's a really neat article. I'm going to send it to my buddy, Gordon Wasson, who he knows is married to a mycologist lady. And he knows that he has some kind of interest in mycology. I'm going to send this article. In 1953, Wasson took his first of several trips to Hualta de Jimenez in search of local medicine people working with these fungi. Wasson returned in 54 and again in 55 when, on June 29th, Wasson and a photographer attended a ritual with Mother Sabina in which they consumed mushrooms. 1955, June 29th. He's in a ceremony with Mother Sabina, but don't forget, Wasson has a photographer with him. You already can picture what his real motives are. Why else would you bring a photographer with you? Wasson traveled regularly to Mexico until 1962, during which time he assisted the French mycologist Roger Heim in documenting nearly 20 new species of psychoactive fungi in the region. Watch this. Hoffman synthesizes psilocybin. We think he synthesized just LSD. Hoffman also synthesized psilocybin. After Wasson's Life magazine article, and we're going to talk about that, was published, Roger Heim contacted Albert Hoffman to see if Hoffman would be able to identify the active compounds in the Mexican mushrooms. Hoffman agreed, and when the samples of the psilocybe mexicana arrived in his lab, two of Hoffman's colleagues, Arthur Brack and Hans Kobel, determined the means for growing the mushrooms. It was from these that they grew in 1958 that Hoffman first isolated and described the psychoactive compounds psilocin and psilocybin. Hoffman in 1958 said, here's the active compounds in those fruit that you guys have been finding, sending around, and getting analyzed. Boop, there's your answer. Hoffman later synthesized an analog of psilocybin. He created a laboratory version, a chemical compound that closely molecularly matched psilocybin. Let's go back to Wasson in this Life magazine article. I think that's fascinating. I really, honestly, this is not this time sitting here, but it's very few people know that Hoffman actually did that. Wasson in Life magazine. Listen to that story. In the May 13th, 1957 issue of Life magazine, Wasson published a photo essay. Duh, he had a photographer with him, right? A photo essay documenting his experience with Sabina, as well as other Mazatec mushroom practices. Entitled Seeking the Magic Mushroom, the article not only introduced the now familiar title for psychoactive fungi, since he called it a magic mushroom then, basically we've gone with that term ever since, because that was the title of his Life magazine article. That's where it came from, the word, the title, the idea, to even call this stuff a magic mushroom. The article not only introduced the now familiar title for psychoactive fungi, it was also the first mainstream piece of writing to reintroduce the concept of using psychoactive fungi since their widespread suppression centuries earlier. The article even included field guides to the mushrooms to the mushrooms themselves, field guides. Here's where you can find them in the article. If you want to go down the tip of Mexico, here's a field guide published in the Life magazine article. 6 days later, the magazine This Week published an interview with his wife, Valentina Wasson, entitled, I Ate the Sacred Mushroom. At least his wife called it a sacred mushroom. He's calling it a magic. Her article calls it a sacred. This article brought the story to over 12 million more readers, many of them housewives, because the article this week was more of a housewife magazine. So, finishing up. With coverage in such heavily circulated publications, Life magazine was it, if you remember. I remember as a kid, we got Life magazine subscribed. It was delivered whatever the subscription, I think it was once a week. We got that magazine. I remember that specifically. So it's a heavily published, especially back in the 50s and early 60s. Life magazine and Time magazine were it. With coverage in such heavily circulated publications, the mushroom practice of Mexico were rapidly launched into the public sphere and into the burgeoning postmodern beatnik counterculture. The beatniks are like, what? There's a psychoactive compound? I just read about it in Time magazine. Hey, beatnik pal. Hey, beatnik gal. What do you... Let's beatnik it. Beatniks were sort of the precursors to our hippies, right? In the following year, hordes of proto-hippies, basically prototype hippies, soon descended upon the hillsides of rural Oaxaca in search of the magic mushroom. Now you have hordes of people out there trying to gather and forage these mushrooms in the hills and the hillsides and in the different areas that they've been growing in Mexico for centuries. Let's have a group of kids pull up in a VW van and charge the fields. Go find some. Let's sharpen your elbows. Let's go get some. Hordes. Lacking any roots in the local culture, many of these gringos would flash money to any villager who would offer them a mushroom trip. Hey, man, do you know where I can get some of that stuff? Hey, man. So you're asking any villager in town, I got a lot of money. Can you get me some of that stuff? I can't even go find it myself. So now they're down there throwing their money around. I got some of that stuff. What are you going to do when you're as poor as a church mouse in the middle of Mexico and you don't have a dime to put together? You're going to take the money. Later, these outsiders would be found lying in the village streets, intoxicated and babbling. Man, you weren't supposed to take 30 grams. No wonder you're like free at one of our, you're not supposed to be holding the wall up. It was supposed to just be a trip. No, hey dog, it can't be a win-win. Watch. When you put money before spirituality, you ruin everything. Eventually, techniques for home cultivation of these fungi were figured out, and travel to Mexico decreased in the counterculture. Eventually, we figured out, hey, we can grow those ourselves. We don't have to go all the way down to Mexico. We'll figure out how to do that here. However, the negative impact that the WAS articles had on the Oaxacan villages can still be seen today. No win-win. Maria Sabina has since become a tourist icon in the region, where her face is plastered in various shops in the state of Oaxaca. And illicit mushroom sales and consumption is a major aspect of the area's underground tourist industry. They ended up, the villagers were so tired of these kids coming down there and giving money for the spirituality. They were like, that was supposed to be our culture. That was stuff we used in our sacred ceremonies. We're not supposed to be selling that to these gringos that are coming down here and flashing money at us. So a righteous amount of them in these villages rose up against those that were selling it, including Mother Sabina at this point, and they banished them from the villages. They burned Mother Sabina's house down to the floor. They kicked anybody. If you're selling mushrooms to a gringo, you're out of the village. That's what ended up happening until the new culture comes in and they're like, hey, we're really poor here. Why don't we just start selling pictures of Mother Sabina, plaster them on the walls down here, and start a black market of magic mushrooms down here? And that's where they are today. Not making money from it, not making it an appropriate situation, having it be a black market situation, and trouncing on their own history. And guess what? We're getting ready to do it again in our history because history repeats itself. Pops, how do I make $1,000 a month selling mushrooms? I don't know. But Pops, don't you? I lose over $1,000 a month, you guys. You don't even have a clue. If you think Pops is doing this so he could sell, if you're buying something from me, it's a penny in my pot and I have to spend $1. I need your pennies, don't get me wrong. I appreciate every one of them. But I don't beg you for it. I don't put anything on you. I don't push. It's here. And your pennies are going to help. But they're a drop in the bucket. We make sure of that. Because I don't want to be Mother Sabina, and I don't want to be these guys down there. We give away more than we make. I have a budget that allows me. I'm telling you. 2 years ago, I went to my accountant. Here's $50,000. I'll spend 5 years losing it. We'll pour some of this in, but I don't want to make any money. What's my balances? Is there enough in there to start a nonprofit corporation? Is there enough in there to hire a lawyer for legal fees? Is there enough in there to get a consultant so we can be working on our license? Is there enough in there to pay the lease on the grow house and all of the expenses? Is there enough? Just my shipment of vermiculite last week. $1,400 shipment. So if you buy a pack from me for $10, oh, Pops is making $1 million. Bullshit. That's not what we do it for. And the people that reach out to me and say, oh, I'm so bummed, man. It's really slow. Things aren't working out. I'm not making my money. Get a job. You're supposed to have a real job. This isn't supposed to be your job. This isn't supposed to be what you do to make a living off of everybody else. Because then you're going to do what Wasson did. Get a job. Make it your hobby. You still get all the benefits. You still get all the benefits. You still get all the medicine in your tub. You still have plenty. 3 or 4 tubs, you got enough for yourself. Oh, it's not enough for me. I want to make $1,000. I have to pay a bill this month. Bill paying with your spiritual mushrooms is exactly what Big Pharma does. That's exactly what Big Pharma does. They pay their bills selling you drugs. You got me, I'll get worked up. I get worked up. And I won't touch a bad drug. Pop, can you get me some of this? Can you get me some of that? I won't touch anything I don't even sell weed. I don't even sell weed because I don't think weed's that good for my body. I can't even offer it. I give it away. Somebody gives some to me, I gotta give it, let's give it away. There's a person here who says, oh, I don't do that. You need to check yourselves here. We need to check ourselves on a regular basis. On a regular basis. Because it's getting attractive. There's all kinds of people, oh wow, so I can make money at that? Well, teach me how. Yeah. This is a true story. True story. We have Chaldeans here in Detroit. The Chaldean group here in Detroit runs everything in terms of dispensaries, jewelry stores, pawn shops, a few liquor stores, gas stations. The Chaldeans are, they have their thumb in a million of, and usually it's a kind of operation that's cash heavy. They're in these very cash heavy. This is a year ago. I was looking for, some of you know, I was looking for investors. I want to go further. We need a little money, especially for this lawyer situation and all that. I was looking for investors. Well, the best investors in Detroit are Chaldeans. That's who you want. But you got to be really careful because you get in bed with the culture, and it's very likely that you're in bed with people that are in it for more for the money than for the spiritual reasons. So, having said that, this Chaldean group of them, 2 or 3. Well, we don't really want to. I ended up changing my whole concept. No, I don't want investors. I couldn't even get somebody to write a book with me that didn't try to make money off the book. Couldn't even illustrate it unless they were making money off the book that we're supposed to be virtually giving away so the world can learn how to grow. So you talk about trying to find a like-minded investor, somebody that I'll give you $50,000 to just go give it away. There aren't very many of those. I had a hard time finding one. I had a hard time finding one that said, yeah, we're on it with the same mission statement. I'm almost done here, you guys. This is important stuff. Thank you, Kim. Our industry's going here. It has to. It's going. It's on a fast trip here, and we can jump on and make money, or we can say, I won't be on the money side of it, but I will stay on the impeccable health side of it. So this Chaldean guy goes, here's the deal. We'll write you a check for $1 million if you start up the same thing you have going at your grow house at this facility over here. It's a big, giant factory facility that they had just closed down. That was a weed grow place. They had their weed grow place. We want to see 1,500 tubs in here. We'll give you $1 million to get the thing started and a $100,000 consultation fee for your first year of involvement. If I'd have taken that deal, you guys wouldn't even see me on T. I wouldn't have time. But you, sir, have the wherewithal. You have the knowledge. You have the experience. We want you to set it up. Here, we'll write the check to you. You can have the biggest illegal grow in probably the United States. We know how to do it because we've been doing the illegal marijuana grows for years. We control them. So you're in bed with the right people. Let me tell you that. If you want to go this way, you're in bed with the right people. There's people out there who will go give you, you can figure it out. And that wasn't even a hard one to say no to. Farish, I'm not interested in that one bit. Not even for a second. Check our motives. Check our reasons for doing this. Check your bank balances. If they're only growing because you're growing mushrooms, I'm concerned for you. Those big grows lead to the wrong place. And instead, I'd have been focusing on that and building some kind of that instead of some kind of this. So give me 10 people that understand that, and I'll do our final giveaway finally. Thank you for letting me scream at you guys. I'm screaming out loud because I love you. I mean that. I don't want us to get caught in that trap. I don't want any of us to be the example of that trap. There is nothing wrong with side selling stuff and supplementing your income to your family and making sure that everybody's good and comfortable. I love that. If you're trying to become the next mushroom king of North Carolina, fuck off. If you're trying to become the next one of Michigan, fuck off. That's not what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be mushroom kings. We're supposed to be mushroom priests. Okay. Here we go. That's right, Kim. We're the mushroom apple seeds. So, we ready for our final spin of the week? Here we go, team. I hope this has been a fun week for everybody, and that this wheel thing turns out to be fun for everybody too. Who do we have? My goodness, Anthony just got added, and Anthony. Sharon Sparks added Anthony, and Anthony just took it home. Nicely done, Anthony. Nicely done, my friend. Anthony, I'm going to be sending you a nice box. Check out what we're going to send you. We're going to send you a 10-pack of 200 milligram, but Anthony, these are spawn caps, not fruit. They work well, but just be aware they're spawn caps. We're also going to be sending you fruit caps, 300 milligrams. Pure Ghost. Pure Ghost spawn, Pure Ghost fruit. Okay? We're also going to be sending you, this weighs over 3 grams, 3-gram Thrasher. We're going to have to send that to you, Anthony. And then wait for it. Oh my goodness, Anthony, you need some freeze-dried slices, don't you, in your life? Anthony, don't you need some freeze-dried slices somewhere in your life? I think you do. So I think we're going to send that and other stuff. And Anthony, all I need is your address at the DetroitMushLab.net, and we'll send those to you. Okay? Mello, ask me that question here next Monday, and I'll answer it live. Okay? You just ask the question, what's the difference? We're a little out of time, but I'd be glad to explain it again. We talk about it here on occasion, but I'd be happy to explain it again on Monday. Okay? You guys, thanks for letting me scream and yell the last 10 minutes. But I think you know why. I think you know it's important for us to make sure that we're not gouging one another. If you're selling something, be the lowest price, not the highest. If you're selling something and you send them a package, slip something special extra in there too. It didn't cost you very much, did it? It's just extra fruit in your tub. What were you going to do with it? Hold on to it so you could sell it to somebody else and make more money? Puff up their bucks a little bit. That's the way it makes it okay. So remember this stuff. You guys go have a beautiful weekend. And thank you. I'll see you guys here Monday. If I don't, see you on the water tomorrow. Kingy and Holly and Dee Anderson and the American one and Jolie and Holly and Kimberly. the Golden Bolden, Satterwolf and Holly and Clean Grow and A-Dog. And Free the Ancient One, have a wonderful weekend, Free. And Sling and Sharon, get me that address, girl. Trippy Hippie and Jake Snakes and JC. You didn't do any such thing. Okay, Mello, thank you. I'll ask me that again on Monday. Sid Hunter, hi, City. And Skip. Yeah, Skip, slip a pound in and send it to me, would you, bro? Alan, Tasha, David, Jimmy, Max, and Nerd, and Holly, and Liddy Ladran, and Poncho, have a wonderful weekend. Tasha, nice to see you here. Hags. Snap. Love you, kid. Benny Ben, The Waz, Rusty, the American one, Dave Singleton. Yeah, it's the DetroitMushLab.net. Danny Singleton. The DetroitMushLab.net. All one word. Cleany and Lakita and Joey Portunado. Nice to see you, Joey. Niffy, Slingy and Papa Smurf and Justin and Holly and Mello and Sadie and Herbie Von Worry Kabop and Carrie Crago, the Upside Down Board King, Queen, Kingy and CCS and Ladran and JC and Slingy and Sharon. Thank you, dear. A-Dog, David, Jesus Christ and Hippie, Meow Kitty, Holly, Grady, Skip, Adrian, Tasha, Justin, Laura. You know I want you to have a divine day. Holly and Adrian, Holly I Will, Cappy and Rostamon, P-Stock, and Cappy and Holly and Tasha and Laddie and Holly and Luz and MDK and Danny, you bet, and David and Bubblegum and Fly and Wing and Mike and Lakita and Satter and Satwise and my buddy Bull and Vegas. You have a wonderful weekend too, doll. Pops, peace. Treat each other with the best and the most kindness and respect you ever thought you could. And then add a little. Pops out.